Against their onslaught, after a decade of life and death battles against the demons, the Demon Defense Agency emerged. The DDA discovered that there are unique demons called aberrants. They harnessed the demon cores of aberrants to create special weapons called Imperium. Because of that, they were able to fight the demons. With the arrival of Imperiums came defenders and elite DDA soldiers capable of wielding them. Defenders are the backbone that protects humanity from demons, but who protects them? Many helicopters were active in the sky, while Atlas, the DDA defender, was on the run. The police were trying to catch him while he's still running in the alley, wondering how did it end like that. Atlas have been fighting demons for years, so no one would have to endure the pain that he suffered, but that whole time he realized that he was nothing but a pawn for the Demon Defense Agency, so he decided that whatever it takes, even he have to do it alone. He'll find the truth. One of the policemen reports that they lost Atlas, but the other policeman said Atlas couldn't have gone far, so they should keep looking, and they should remember who they're dealing with, so nobody should confront Atlas alone. Then the policemen on the street order the citizens to return to their homes immediately because it's not safe there, to which the citizens are confused. On the other hand, Atlas, who's at the top of the building looking at the cops, thinks first they attack him in the middle of the night, then chase him through the city, so he can't trust the DDA anymore. One of the policemen asks how did Atlas escape, because there is only one way out. But his comrade tells him not to underestimate the power of the shadow swords, because with Imperium Atlas can slip in and out of the shadows. It will then. The policemen ask why they after Atlas, and if isn't he the agency's strongest defender. His comrade responded that Atlas finally succumbed to his Imperium's demonic energy, and that's why he never trusts any defenders, because they all go bad eventually. The policemen ask what he did mean to succumb to Imperium. Suddenly someone walks toward them, and when they look back, they saw Sasha. Sasha is also DDA defender. Then Sasha asks the policeman what are they doing, and if shouldn't they be searching like everyone else. The man responded that he just explaining how Atlas lost his mind and attacked the DDA headquarters, to which Sasha asked if she heard him right. The man said Atlas has more confirmed demon kills than anyone in the history of the DDA, while his comrade was in fear behind him. But the man still said everyone says Atlas was always more of a demon than a man, and it's only a matter of time before his Imperium overwhelmed him. Sasha glared at the man angrily. On the other hand, Atlas, who heard everything, thinks no one would believe him if he told them the truth or where demons really come from. Suddenly Sasha angrily tells the man to shut up and said Atlas risked his life for years to protect that city, and he would never have given into his Imperium. Atlas was shocked. Then Sasha pinned the man to the wall and tells him that he doesn't know anything about Atlas, and he wouldn't have attacked the DDA. If he did, there wouldn't be anything left. Sasha also tells the men that there's something the DDA isn't telling them. Then she let go of the men and walks away angrily, while thinking she just needs to talk to Atlas. The man angrily asks what's the point of defending Atlas when he's been a lost? 'Cause ever since he let his wife die, that made Atlas stun. Then he remembers when they were kids, Rachel was the only one who really understood him. Then the kid named Jason said he was going to be the greatest defender one day, and he have the strongest Imperium, so everyone will respect him just like his dad. Rachel said Jason is predictable and just wants to look cool. Then she asked Atlas what about him, which made little Atlas shocked and responded that he doesn't have one. Rachel said he sure does, because everyone dreams of something, but Atlas shyly said all he wants is to have fun and hang out with them. Jason said it doesn't count, because it has to be something awesome and legendary, but Rachel said she liked it and tells Jason that he was just jealous, and she thinks it's a great dream and that's what she want too. Then they start to walk in high school. The man said it was not their fault he was such a bad defender, and how could he expect to protect people from demons when he couldn't even save himself? But Atlas, who's injured, tell the men that they don't understand anything about Jason's death. The man tells Atlas to give up because it's 3 against 1, but Atlas responded that he's not going to stop until they apologize for what they said. Then he punches the man's face, but the man punched him back. Still he punched back again at home after Atlas knows that Rachel was the only one who took care of him. Rachel tells him that he can't keep getting into a fight because they're going to kick him out of school if he keeps it up. Then she presses the ice at Atlas's face while telling him that she just wants people to see him the same way she does. Atlas responded that it was not his fault because they were making fun of Jason's dad, but Rachel angrily tell him that he can't protect everyone and he should let Jason stand up for his family. Atlas said she and Jason are his family. Then Atlas look at Rachel's shy eyes and lean closer to her, then kiss her. Everything was how it was supposed to be, and he thought he could live in his dream forever, but the reality is never so kind. The monster said Atlas in Rachel's house on fire. A few hours later, policemen and firemen tried to put out the fire while Atlas tried to get off at the police who were holding him because his wife is still inside, but the policeman said it was too late and there was nothing he can do. Atlas kneeled outside their house crying and thinking he should have been there with Rachel, but it's all their fault. Then he angrily thinks of those bastards at the DDA, and he doesn't know why the DDA hiding the origin of demons, but he won't let them get away with it. Then they heard a big explosion at the top of the building. Then Sasha looked back while thinking that power. Then she twirls her weapon while wondering if Atlas was up there that whole time. Then she uses her weapon on the ground to jump toward the building. Then she landed on the top of the building while thinking that Atlas always trying to take on everything by himself, but she have a feeling he'll need her help. She look around, but she can't find him. Then she uses her weapon to jump to another building while thinking wherever Atlas going she'll catch up to him. Meanwhile, in some building, the man who's looking at the window tells the other man that he was sloppy to let Atlas see one of the experiments and he should have known it would take more than Cyrus and Kelly to capture Atlas. Then the man angrily asks how will he rectify the mess he has made. The man angrily apologizes and said he'll kill the Shadow Boy himself and bring him his head, but the man slaps him and asks him if he's stupid because Atlas must be kept alive. Then the man angrily tells him not to let his mistake get in the way of his plan and orders him to bring Atlas to him because is certain that Atlas is the one he has been waiting for. Meanwhile, in the alley, Atlas was running away while calming himself and assuring himself that revenge can wait. He also thinks that whatever happens he has to get out of the city before Sasha and Jason get wrapped up in his situation. Then he saw an open alley, realizing that the bridge will be just up ahead, but when he gets out, many policemen were pointing a gun at him, and the chief said he's wanted for an attack on the DDA headquarters and the murder of defenders Cyrus and Kelly. Atlas angrily clenches his teeth, knowing that he can't afford to waste time there. The chief said he have been corrupted by his Imperium. Then he orders Atlas to come with them willingly and stand trial for his crimes, but Atlas said he's the one who was attacked. The DDA is lying to them, and they're lying to all of them. The chief angrily asks him if he's trying to say he didn't kill Creus and Kelly, so if is truly innocent, then he has nothing to fear and stand down. Atlas was silent for a moment and said it's not so simple, so none of them understand what they're getting themselves into. The chief angrily said if that all he have to say, then they have nothing more to talk about. Atlas activate his Imperium while saying he's not in a good mood, and he promises them that they don't want to get in his way, to which the officers fear and wonders if they're really going to fight against Atlas, but the chief order them to prepare to fire. Atlas closes his eyes and holds his swords tightly while thinking if they refuse to listen, he'll just have to show them. Then he looks at the DDA officers angrily. Flashback, the scientist tells Atlas that he has passed the mental and physical exams without exception, and the higher-ups have instructed him to give him a chance to bond with an Imperium, but he warns him because out of all the youngsters like him who have attempted the experiment, only a few made it. So before he decides that he really want to become a defender, they should make sure that they're on the same page. The scientist also tells him, as they know they had their hands full when the demon first appeared 40 years ago, and they're just beginning to understand their basic features and abilities, but then a totally new type of demon emerged. Then the scientists showed something and explained that those demons have unique identities and their power is on a completely different level, and they called them aberrants. Many agents lost their lives defeating the first aberrant demons. However, their sacrifice led to the DDA's greatest discovery, and it was the demon course. Extracting the core of aberrant demons allowed them to create special weapons called Imperium, and by bonding with those empowered weapons, their most elite soldier finally became an even match for the demons. But it's no exact science. Then the scientists showed 3 different cores while saying defenders use Imperiums to harness the power of aberrant demons, but as his friend Jason knows, they are extremely dangerous tools, so if is not compatible with the Imperium he chooses, it will reject him. Even if he manages to bond with it, the Imperium will constantly try to corrupt him with its demonic energy. The scientist also said the 3 cores he sees there represent the Imperiums that he can choose from in order to become a defender. Then the scientist asks if his shore is ready. Atlas pointed at something and said he'd choose it, but Jason asked him if you want to think it through a little more, because it was such a big decision, the scientist said. Atlas sounded confident, and it's better that he doesn't second-guess himself, but Jason fearfully said, Atlas, choose the Shadow Demon's core, and that's the strongest demon the DDA has ever faced. With an Imperium like that, the chances of eventually becoming corrupted are too high. Then Jason put his hand on Atlas's shoulder, who was looking at the Shadow Demon core, while saying he knows how hard he has worked to get there, but no one who's tried to wield the shadow swords has survived, and he doesn't have to take that risk. But Atlas just smacked his hand away and responded that he won't understand because he has an Imperium, and he already gets to make a difference as a defender. Jason angrily tells him that he knows how important that is to him, but he knows what happened to his father. Also, he brought him into the DDA, and if he gets corrupted like his father, they'll have to kill him, so he shouldn't make him go through that again. Atlas tells Jason that he appreciates everything he has done for him, but that is the only way he can make up for what happened to Rachel. And he has to make sure that nobody else has to suffer like that, so it doesn't matter what happens to him. But Jason said it mattered to him because they're best friend, and if he really has to do it, then he won't stop him. But the moment it seems like the shadow swords are rejecting him, he'll end the experiment. Then the scientists said they should begin the bonding process and ask Atlas to enter the testing room. Atlas looks at worried Jason and enters the room. Inside the room he saw a knife inside the container shining, and he thinks his dream now is to bond with the shadow swords and get revenge on all the demons. Then he closed his eye and said he can do it. Then he grabbed the knife, then release a violet shadow, while the scientist and Jason were quietly looking at Atlas from outside. Then a shadow goes inside him, which made him shout in pain, and corrupted by it, Jason, panicky, tells the scientists to stop the experiment. But the scientist responded that there's nothing they can do, and that it is all up to Atlas because he has to bond with the Imperium. Jason bang at the room door while telling Atlas that he can't lose him too. Then he changes his hand into ice while saying he's coming in. On the other hand, Atlas kneeled on the ground because of the pain, but he remembered Rachel's smile and controlled the shadow sword. Then he stand up while Jason break the door of the room behind him. Then he tells Jason not to worry because some stupid swords aren't going to take him down. That made Jason stunned and shocked. Then Atlas holds the swords confidently while thinking that he won't let anything stand in his way back to the current situation. Atlas jumped toward the officers, realizing that his Imperium is more powerful than usual, and he can feel it. The officers tremble in fear, but the chief ordered them not to let Atlas close the distance and fill him with bullet holes, to which the officers followed and shot Atlas, but Atlas just run forward, avoiding all the bullets, while telling the officers that they're not on the same team anymore, so he won't go easy on them. Then Atlas attacked one of the officers, which made it shock and block it using his gun, but the chief ordered him not to try to block Atlas. Imperium because the shadow swords can phase through any object, but it was too late because Atlas' shadow sword phases through the gun and cut the officer chest. Then Atlas slashed the other officers that made the chief call his men an idiot and said if infantry won't work it's time to bring out the big guns. Then he orders to engage the missiles, while thinking that Atlas might be unstoppable in single combat. But he can't beat his unit with sore words alone. Then one of the officers shouts that the missiles are ready to fire. Atlas said their battle is pointless. Then he asked the chief if do we care so little for the lives of his men, but the chief responded that every one of his agents is happy to put their life on the line to stop monsters like him, and if he hadn't been corrupted by his Imperium, he would understand that Atlas tells him that he's really a fool, but he tells Atlas not to overestimate himself. Then he orders the missile to fire, to which his men did, but Atlas just smiles and realizes that his whole world turned upside down and is fighting against men who just a few hours ago were allies, but for some reason he feels alive. Then he cuts the missile which made it explode. Atlas thinks he has killed demon after demon for years, but he has never felt he had a purpose more than he does now, and he knows that revenge is coming. One of the officers clenches his teeth in anger and orders his comrade not to give Atlas even a moment to rest because they have to stop that monster. Atlas throws his sword while saying they have no idea what he's capable of. The sword hit one of the officers. Then he pulled his sword back at him, which made the chief realize that even Atlas throws his Imperium, he can summon it back to his hands, and he doesn't have any other choice. Then he shouted to send out the twins, which made Atlas wonder. Then something flies toward him and flies past him. Atlas thinks she's fast. Then someone kicks him that throws him away. The twins named Tora and Hina look at him. Then Hina said is lame because she thought they'd finally get to have some fun. Atlas, who's on the ground wondering what the hell was it, then Hina asks him if he's okay. Then she tells the chief that she thought he said Atlas was a worthy opponent and asks if that is actually Atlas, but the chief responded whatever they do, don't kill Atlas, because the president wants him alive, while thinking he didn't want to rely on those crazy twins, but he's under strict orders to stall Atlas until the defenders get there. Tora looks at Hina, to which Hina laughs and said is right, because maybe getting corrupted by his Imperium has weakened his skills, so they'll have to play nice if they're not allowed to break their toy. On the other hand, Atlas realizes that he almost forgot the situation he's in and wonders what would Jason think if he saw the situation. Then he stands hands up and knows that he needs to get out of there before that happens. Then he throws his sword toward Hina, and Hina got cut on the cheek. Then he jumps behind Hina while apologizing for disappointing them, but he doesn't have time to waste playing with them. But Hina just smiled excitedly and jumps while saying that's what she wants. When Atlas going to attack Hina, Tora jumps toward him and attack him, breaking the ground. But when he looks around, Atlas is nowhere to be found. Suddenly Atlas appeared in front of him while saying brute force is useless against him. Then Atlas kicks Tora's face, but he just hit an armor, which made him confused. Then Tora punches him away. Then he landed on the ground confused because he knows that Tora didn't have armor before and wondered how did Tora block his kick so quickly. The chief teasingly said it won't be so easy to defeat the twins because he may have the power of a demon, but the twins are monsters themselves. They were brought up from birth to be killers, not to kill demons, but to kill those who oppose the DDA, and the twins' Imperiums come from the Steel Griffin. Because of their condition, upbringing, and uniquely similar DNA, they developed the ability to bond with the same demon core. Tora can manifest the Steel Griffin's metal feather in strength, while Hina can manifest the Steel Griffin's bestial vision and talons. Hina said seem like her big brother is finally taking Atlas seriously, but she can't let her brother steal all the fun. Then Hina tells Atlas that she hopes he did not disappoint them. Then she jumps toward Atlas, but Atlas thinks he has never heard of those twins before. Then he pointed one of his swords at Tora and the other one at Hina, while realizing that he used to keep his head down and not ask any questions about the DDA. But that's a luxury he can't afford anymore. Atlas knows that he needs to separate the twins because they're annoying. Then Hina attacks him using her sharp claws while he's planning to figure out how the twins' Imperiums work. Hina once again attacks him, to which Atlas feels the pressure coming off at Hina with every strike because Hina was fast, but he knows that he can still keep up. Then he looks back wondering where Tora goes. Taurus swings his weapon toward Atlas, but Atlas just ready his swords to block it, while telling Tora to give his best shot. Then Tora hit Atlas, but he blocks it, to which he realized is that Tora is strong, but he knows that he can handle it, and he just needs to create an opening. Tora attack made him back away a little, and he teasingly asks the twin if that was all they are capable of. Hina gets angry and launched an attack at him while telling him not to be cocky. Fortunately, he leans backward in time to avoid Hina's attack. Then he jumps while wondering if Hina's power just increased. Then he swings his sword toward Hina, but Hina avoided it. Then he angrily raises his sword while telling the twin to get out of his way. But Hina just looked at him angrily, to which made him confused. Suddenly Tora attacked the ground toward Atlas, which made the ground breaks, but Atlas jumped, avoiding it in time. Then he landed on the unbroken ground, realizing that Hina eyes went back to normal. He felt an eruption of demonic power from Tora. Tora jumped toward him, ready to attack. That made him surprised and wonder how Tora closed the distance already. Then Tora attacked him, which made a loud destruction, but once again he avoided it, realizing that Tora's ability is currently different and he would be dead if he took one of those hits head on, as he did earlier. Hina happily runs toward him to attack. Atlas was confused. Then Hina attacked him and cut his cheek, while he finally realized that the twins' Imperiums are linked. On the other hand, the chief who's helping his injured men said, finally, Atlas, who's a corrupted bastard, isn't as strong as he thinks he is, and after he captures him, he'll surely get promoted. Atlas, who had a cut on his face, tells the twins that they're really starting to piss him off. Then he walks toward the twin, asking them why don't they take the fight up a notch too, which Tina asked him back if he is really sure about it, because it looks like he has already bitten off more than he can chew. But Atlas responded he's not really, and he is just bored. Then he asks if wouldn't it be more fun if they end the fight in a single move. The chief shouted to the twins not to listen to Atlas because they have the advantage, so there's no reason to take a risk. But Hina angrily tells him to shut up and said she can handle the situation herself, and his whole unit would be dead if they hadn't saved him, to which made the chief angry and thinks how dare Hina to talk to him like that. Then Hina agrees to Atlas and said she hopes he doesn't die because she thinks she's starting to like him. Atlas knows that those twins are powerful, and normally they might even pose a real threat to him, but he's certain that he can take them down. Then he angrily looks at the twin while thinking that it's time to end the fight. Hina jumps to Tora a hand while asking his brother to give her all the power because she wants to finish the fight herself. Then Tora throws Hina with great force toward Atlas. Then Hina pointed her feet with sharp claws first to land at Atlas, but Atlas just closes his eyes and focuses to his shadow swords while thinking he only going to have a small window to make it work. Then he opens his eyes and throws his swords toward Hina, but Hina just tells him that it isn't going to work on her. Unfortunately, Atlas asks her if she thinks he was aiming at her. Then Atlas's swords fly past her, to which Hina realizes that Atlas was targeting Tora. That whole time Tora was confused and got hit by Atlas' swords, which made Hina called Tora worried. Suddenly Atlas appeared under her and tells her that he doesn't think she has time to worry about Tora. Then Atlas grabs Hina leg and slams her on the ground hard. Hina coughs blood and pain. Then Atlas gathers his power in his hand while telling Hina that once he realized they're sharing the power of their Imperium, all he had to do was target whichever one of them was weak. Then he lifts up Hina and ready his power to finish her while telling her that it's over. Meanwhile, Jason was flying with his ice while telling someone to make sure to take care of all the agents, to which Sasha asked him when Did he get there? But Jason just tell her that he'll handle Atlas himself. Meanwhile, Atlas, who's holding Hina, thinks he's not sure where it's coming from, but he has never felt so much power before. Then he's going to kill Hina using his power, but someone grabs his hand and Jason tells him that he finally found him, to which Atlas stun. Atlas looks back, realizing that he spent too much time with those stupid twins. Then he let go of Hina while Sasha looks at them in silence. The chief asks Jason what is he doing there and orders him not to just stand there. Then Jason frees his Atlas's hand, but Atlas breaks free and move away while asking him if that is how he greets his oldest friend, but Jason responded that he's not here to talk with him. Then he readies his Sharp's block of ice while saying that time has passed, to which made Sasha ask him what is he doing. Jason tells Sasha that there is no need to defend Atlas. Then he put down his hand to attack Atlas while saying that isn't Atlas anymore. The ice flies toward Atlas, but Sasha blocks it, using her weapon to protect Atlas while asking Jason how could he say it when they don't even know what happened. Jason responded that he know exactly what happened and said Atlas is more than those swords, than the man they knew then. He angrily asks Atlas if does he has nothing to say for himself. Atlas patted Sasha's shoulder, to which Sasha look at him in confusion, but Atlas just smile at her. Then Atlas walks forward and said to Jason to say all what he wants, but he did everything for Rachel. Jason responded that it was convenient and asked him if it was worth betraying his friends and everything. The DDA represents Jason also asks if it's worth killing all of those innocent agents. Ben defends society and is not meant to rely on them. Then he punched Atlas using his sharp ice, but Atlas avoided it while Jason asks him how could you let that happen. Jason made a big block of ice while telling Atlas that they're brothers. Then he hit Atlas using it while asking if he still remembers what happened to his father and how badly that hurt him. Jason said everyone always told him that his father was a great man, but it turns out his father wasn't the person they all thought he was. Then he punched Atlas's face, which made Atlas bleed, and said he guessed neither are he and thrown away while Jason asked if you think Rachel would be proud of what he had become. On the other hand, Sasha, who's watching the two of them, realizes that Atlas isn't fighting back and Jason is too blinded by his rage to see it, but it's clear that Atlas hasn't been corrupted. Sasha wonders why Atlas won't trust them, because if he had just told them the truth they would have helped him, but she knows that it's too late because the DDA won't let Atlas go, so she wonders what can she do. Jason launched a punch toward Atlas while angrily asking him if Rachel would even love him anymore after all the blood on his hands. Atlas catches Jason's hand while telling Jason not to go there, because at least he tries to honor Rachel's memory, but he turned on his father the moment the DDA said his father was corrupted. Then he asks Jason if that's all his love is worth. Then he throws Jason away. Jason attacks him using his ice while saying at least he doesn't live in some fantasy and out there in the real world he has to face reality. Sasha realized that the fight was getting bad. Atlas dodges Jason ice while Jason tells him that he is just like his father because he put up a front like his some noble hero, but on the inside all he cares about is himself. Then Jason attacks him continuously. Fortunately, he avoided it while Jason saying no wonder they both got corrupted by his own selfish desires. Suddenly Atlas appeared behind Jason and asks him if that's really what he thinks. Then he slices Jason, but Jason avoided it. Then Jason flips to attack him, but Atlas jumps toward him while telling him that he rather believe in the DDA than his own best friend, which made Jason confused. Atlas kicks Jason in the stomach. Then Jason threw away Atlas, tells him that everything doesn't always fit perfectly into place and sometimes heroes don't wear capes and demons don't have horns and breathe fire, but Jason, who's injured on the ground, tells Atlas not to lecture him. Jason slowly stands up while saying that it's just an excuse he uses to justify doing whatever he wants, and none of that matters anyways. Then he made a giant ice spear to attack Atlas while saying there's only one fate. For defenders who have been corrupted that made Atlas shock, then Sasha hit Jason using her weapon while telling him to stop. Then Jason collapsed on the ground. Then Sasha captured Atlas while Atlas told her that she didn't have to. But Sasha just walked toward him while saying they both acting like babies. Then she slaps Atlas and put a tracker on him. To which Atlas asks her what was the slap, for Sasha responded that it was what he get for being so selfish, and she, no, that is hiding the truth in order to protect them, but clearly he was the one who needs protection. Sasha also said she can make decisions for herself, to which Atlas apologized and tried to say something, but Sasha let go of him while saying she had decided to let him go. Sasha said she don't know what happened, but she won't let the DDA get to him, and she owe him that much, so he need to get out of there before it was too late. Suddenly someone speak, which made Atlas shock. Then a man with other DDA asks what they have there. Then the man walks toward them while telling Sasha that it looks like she was just untying Atlas. His swords move, to which he wonders what's going on with his Imperium because it's felt different and he can hardly control the energy. Then he looks at the man and realizes that because of him Sash is going to get in trouble, but Sasha just looked back at him and tells him not to worry and just follow her lead. Then Sasha tells the man who's their commander named Neil that she's happy he's there and Atlas has actually turned himself in, but Neil asks Sasha if she expects him to believe that after Atlas killed tens of agents. Sasha responded she said it's odd, but she asked what was there to complain about, because as far as she can see that makes their jobs a lot easier. Then she asks Neil to let her take Atlas back to headquarters and he can make Atlas's case to the judge, which made Neil angry. The chief tells Neil not to listen to Sasha because Atlas would never give himself up and he can't be trusted, but Neil tells the chief that a failure like him has no room to speak there. Then Neil tells Sasha that it's indeed a good turn of luck for them defender. However, Atlas will be coming with him because Atlas will be dealt with privately by the president himself, to which Sasha worried and asked him what he means, because every criminal is supposed to be given a public trial, but Neil just tell her that the president's decisions are final. When Sasha tried to say something, Neil dismissed her. Atlas wonders if it's how it's going to end and if all the fighting and all the killing are what for, but he closes his eyes thinking that maybe it's better that way because he's tired. Then he apologizes to Rachel and thinks that at least they got to live their dream for a little while. Then he slowly stands up while asking Neil why he's taking him back to the president when they both know he's not corrupted, and if isn't he just going to kill him anyways. But Neil responded that he's not going to kill him because they have much bigger plans for him. Suddenly his shadow sword releases a powerful aura, to which Atlas wonders why it's happening again. Then the aura comes out of his body, to which Neil gets angry and launched a punch at him while angrily asking him if he thinks he can escape from him. Sasha walked toward him wordly, but the shadow demon's core possessed his whole body and released a powerful power that slowly occupied the place and explode. Atlas, who's floating in the air, wonder what did he just do and why he feels so in control. Then he looks at his feet and realizes that he's floating. On the other hand, Neil angrily asks Atlas where did he go and said he'll find him, to which Atlas wonders if Neil can really not see him, but he decided to fly away thinking that he'll figure out that ability later because he had to move. Then he flies towards Sasha, who's confused knowing that he doesn't know how that ability will last. Then he lands in front of Sasha while telling Sasha that she's right, that he was acting like a child, and he apologizes, but he knows what it's like to lose someone he cares about and he refuses to let that happen again. Then he hugs Sasha while thanking her for everything she have done for him. Then he said goodbye. Sasha tells Atlas to wait, but before she can finish her words Atlas was gone. Neil angrily asks Sasha what Atlas just did do and orders her to tell him where Atlas is gone, but Sasha asks back how would she know where Atlas was, and said, "Surely, wise commander, such as himself would have more information than her." Neil angrily tells her that her axe can't fool him because he knows she's trying to help Atlas, and they should see if she's still so stubborn after meeting with the president, because he's sure that president wants to speak with her. Then you'll walk away, leaving Sasha, hoping that Atlas was okay. Meanwhile, Atlas grabs something and runs toward the forest. While thinking about Jason and Sasha, Atlas promises that he won't let the DDA do whatever they want, and he also promises to figure that out, but currently he doesn't even know what's going on with his own Imperium. Atlas wonder what was that new ability, and when did his body learn to fly. The whole thing feels like a blur, and it was like all the information was just filling in his mind. Then you look at the sky, wondering who's his kidding, and thinks that maybe he should have told them the truth because there was so much going on, so he wondered how he's supposed to put it all together. Then he slaps his face hard, convincing himself that he can do it. Then he walks toward the house while thinking at least Jason and Sasha are safe, and for now he just needs to get to the man's house because he's sure he'll help him. When he's near the house, he can't believe that it's really been 15 years. Then he opens the door and goes inside. While asking if anyone is home, he saw the bed messy and knows that someone's still living there, so he's sure they'll be home soon. Then he goes to the bed while planning to just lie down for a minute, and when he lay down, he just passed out immediately. A few moments later, the man who's holding a big axe and a dead animal walks toward the house. When the man entered the house, he saw Atlas sleeping in his bed. Then he pointed his axe at Atlas's neck while asking who is he, to which Atlas woke up in shock. Then Atlas called the man's uncle Boone and said his name in fear. Boone smiled and asked if he's really Atlas. Then he dropped the dead animal on the ground to hug Atlas happily and said Atlas have really become a man that he hardly recognized him. Then he put down Atlas while saying as much as he loves seeing him again, he know he wouldn't have come there unless there was an emergency, and asked him what was going on. Atlas responded that first he has to tell him that a few years ago he became a DDA defender, and he knows he said, but before he can finish his words, Bun angrily tells him that he told him to stay away from the agency, but instead he became a defender. Bund also said he knew Jason was a lost cause, but he was always the trustworthy one. Atlas apology abundant and said a lot has happened since he left, and he thought he was doing the right thing, but he was wrong, and that's why he's there. Then he said he want to know why Button deserted from the DDA 15 years ago. Button tells him that he doesn't need to know about that because it's more trouble than it's worth. Atlas tells Button is the only one he can turn to in the DDA has set him up, so everyone thinks he has been corrupted, which made Button angrily ask him what deviated to him. Then he tightly hold his axe while saying those DDA bastards taking his best friend wasn't enough for them. Then he tells Atlas that he'll protect him, so he should tell him what happened before they framed him. Atlas responded that it's kind of a long story. Then he said it's happened so quickly that he's not even sure what to make of it, and it all started 2 days ago. He was told to handle an apparent demon attack on the outskirts of the city, but by the time he arrived it was already too late because the wolf demon had caused complete devastation in the area. He cut the demon's feet, cut its legs, and slash it to death. He managed to kill the beast by himself, and he thought that no one had survived the attack, but a girl appeared in front of. She wasn't afraid, and she just wanted to know what happened to her parents, but he couldn't tell her that they had probably died, so they just sat there together. He waited with her until reinforcements arrived, and he thought it would be best if he gave her to the commander Neil. He thought Neil would find her a home, but he should have known something wasn't right. Then he goes to Rachel's tomb and tells Rachel that he met a little girl who reminded him of her because she was so brave and matured for her age, and she wasn't even afraid of him when he was covered in demon blood. Then he tells Rachel that he doesn't know what's happened to him because he just wants to help people, but death follows him everywhere he goes, and lately he feels more like a reaper than a hero. He was visiting Rachel's grave when he felt the presence of a demon, but there was Something different about the aberrant because it didn't feel dangerous, and then he saw a pink towel which made him shocked and realized that it was the little girl. He knew that it wasn't the little girl's fault, but he knew what he had to do. Then he apologized to the little girl, pulled his sword, and cut it in half. Neil walks toward him while saying thank God that he's there. Then he said he killed 2 parents in 2 days, so no wonder they call him the most deadly defender. Atlas asks Neil what happened to the girl from the wolf demon attack, and if did he find her a home. Neil responded that they did find her home and tells Atlas not to worry about it because everything's been taken care of. Then he pulled the pink towel out to show it Boone while saying he knew the DDA was hiding something, but before he could figure anything out, he was attacked in his sleep by 2 defenders. After he escaped, the higher-ups told the entire agency that he was corrupted, so we have been on the run all night, and he was lucky enough to make it there. They were silent for a moment, then Boone happily said he knew it, and everyone thought he was crazy for not trusting the DDA, but he knew it. Then he laughs, while Atlas in the side wondering how he can laugh at a situation like that. Then Boone cleared his throat and said Atlas was right. Then he asked Atlas if he was trying to say that he thinks the DDA is involved with turning humans into demons, and why would they do that? Atlas sits on the bed while saying he doesn't know, but he's certain the demon at Rachel's grave was the same girl he saved during the wolf attack, so he wonders if that means all demons come from humans. Then he tells Boone that he was hoping he might be able to help him. Boone responded that all he can tell him is that the DDA has been using the idea of corrupted defenders to control the agency for decades, and he tried to find an answer, but everywhere he looked led to a dead end, and that's the reason why he disappeared after they killed Jason's father. Then he apologizes to Atlas for not having more information for him, but he said Atlas might be able to start from where he left off. Then Boone said if anyone is corrupt in the DDA, it's definitely Neil, and he knows that Neil spends most of his time at a laboratory created to research Imperiums. He also said he was never able to find a way in, but if Atlas wants an answer to the whole conspiracy, he should go into the laboratory, because whatever the DDA is hiding, he'll find the trail there, to which Atlas is interested. Then Atlas stand up excitedly while saying that they should do it because they'll figure it out together, but Boone tells him to slow down and said he loves him, but he hasn't fought in years. He's an old man, and he can't take on the entire DDA. Then he put his hand on Atlas's shoulder while saying his hip piece now, and his days of fighting demons are over. Suddenly someone said she'll come with him, to which Boone and Atlas were confused, then looked back and saw Sasha the window asking Atlas if he thought she just let him run off into the night like some troubled hero. Sasha said it was her fight too. Meanwhile, in court, the president said he addressed them today with summer news. Last night, the DDA was brutally attacked in the assault. The lives of 24 valiant agents and defenders were lost, so he called the ceremony to honor those men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for their country, and to remind the world of the dangers that the DDA face a daily basis. Jason, who's listening, wonders how could he have let that happen, and he should have been stronger. The president also said the war against demons rages as fiercely now as it ever has before, but no matter how high the stakes might rise, they must never forget that they're human. With that in mind, he wants to take the time to shine a light on the brave soldiers who were taken from them, but instead of mourning their loss, they should celebrate their life. Then he showed a monitor of Agent Bama, father of 2 beautiful girls and a dedicated member of the DDA for 6 years. Then he called the other dead agents and defenders' names, which made Jason angrily promise that he won't let Atlas get away with it. The president said many of them may have probably heard the rumors already that the culprit behind the attack is none other than the DDA's most trustworthy blade, the man who carried the world on his shoulders, the man named Defender Atlas. However, he does not blame Atlas for the disaster, and it seems that the burden placed on him was simply too great, and he has been corrupted by his own Imperium. One of the DBA asks how can they possibly fight against Atlas. The president confidently said they don't have the luxury to worry about who's to blame, whether by fault or by fate. Aliyah. Actor EST, the die has been cast, and no matter who it is they must face, the DDA will persevere together. They are one and is one they cannot fall. The president's speech made the DDA agents and defenders become energetic. Then after the meeting, they started to walk out. Jason taps the commander named Hyacinth's shoulder. Hyacinth turns around and asks Jason if there is something wrong. Jason responded that he knows the president is right, but he can't help feeling guilty because Atlas was right in front of him and he wasn't strong enough to stop him. Hyacinth tells him not to be so hard on himself because he did everything he could, and stopping Atlas is a nearly impossible task for a single defender, especially after Sasha betrayed him. Jason clenched his teeth hard in anger and said he don't care how strong Atlas is because he'll make sure he was the one who stops him. Then he asks what is the plan for capturing Atlas because he wants to help. Hyacinth tells him to slow down because patience is a virtue for a reason, and the DDA has to be methodical when dealing with corruption, especially when it's in a person as dangerous as Atlas. The true nature of corruption is still mysterious to them, and all they know is that it's derived from the demon inside of an Imperium, but no two demons are the same because some are driven by greed and others are fueled by rage or lust. Corruption doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process that sends a defender down a dark path, and there's no way to tell where it might lead. That mystery is why defenders are trained to forsake their emotions and focus only on their duties, and that's the only guaranteed way to protect themselves from succumbing to the demon's will, and that's why he can't let him be involved with Atlas and Sasha, which made Jason shocked, then shouted that he can't do that to him and that he have to give him chance to redeem himself. But Hyacinth shocked, then shouted that he can't do that to him and that he have to give him chance to redeem himself. But Hyacinth just apologizes and said he won't. Hyacinth told Jason that he's worried for him and he think it was a mistake to let him get involved at all. Hyacinth said he knows Jason doesn't want to hear that, but he worked with his father and he was truly a great defender in person, so he won't let him go down the same path he did. Jason tells Hyacinth not to compare him to his father because he have nothing to do with him. Hyacinth pat Jason had while telling him to just stay out of that for him. Then he walked out and saw Neil and the other man talking, to which he wondered what are they up to. Then he orders his pet named Kim to keep an eye on them. Then he let it stick on the wall, slowly fading, then started to walk away while saying he won't let it happen again. Meanwhile, in Boone House, Atlas was shocked and asked Sasha if she really put a tracking device on him. Atlas also asks how did she really find him because there's no way she could do that without him noticing, to which Sasha teasingly asks him why no way she could do it. Then she walked closer to Atlas that made Atlas's face blush. Then she takes off the tracking device while asking him what did he think. That is, Sasha shows the tracking device at Atlas while asking if he still doesn't believe her. Atlas asks her when did she have the chance to put it on him, to which Sasha responded after she slapped him in the face. That made Boone laugh hard and said he liked Sasha while Atlas was rubbing his face in the side. Then Boone shakes Sasha's hand while introducing himself as Atlas's godfather. Then Atlas said he was happy that they are getting along, but they should focus on what was really important, and he asked what are they going to do about the laboratory. Loon said he wish he could be of more help, but he has no idea where the lab is because the entire operation is kept secret, but he heard about it in passing from Commander Hyacinth and even didn't know its location, so the only way to find out is through Neil. Atlas asks Boondif is saying that they have to follow Neil around until they find the lab, but Sasha tells them to hold up and said maybe Atlas doesn't realize it, but is currently the most wanted man in the whole country, so there's no way he can go back into the city dressed like that. The next day Sasha and Atlas were hiding behind the electrical control panel beside the building. Then they peek out while Sasha told Atlas that all the have to do is keep their head down, grab what they need, and go to which Atlas understand inside the store. The TV announces that last night the DDA was brutally attacked, while Sasha and Atlas walk inside awkwardly. Then the TV showed Atlas' picture, while saying the culprit behind the attack is none other than the DDA's most trustworthy blade named Defender Atlas. The people in the store can't believe that Atlas has been corrupted and wonders what's the DDA going to do without Atlas. Then a man pointed at Atlas and asked if doesn't the guy he's pointing it looked like Atlas because he was even wearing a similar outfit. Sasha taps the man using her weapon. Then the other man asks him what he's talking about because nobody's even there, but the man said he swear Atlas was just right there. A few hours later in Boone house outside, Sasha asks, "How did she look?" Atlas responded, "Different," to which Sasha asks back what his words are supposed to mean. Then he sits on the tree on the ground and asks Sasha why did she follow him there, but Sasha just asks him what did he mean. Then she sits beside him while saying it's cold outside and is not the only one who gets to sit by the fire too. Change the topic. Still, Atlas tells her that she knows what he means and asks why she risks coming after him, and the DDA is probably going to claim she's corrupted too. Sasha responded he don't owe her anything if that's what he's wondering, and she did it for herself, to which surprised Atlas Sasha said when she saw him fighting against Jason she could tell he was in pain, and she know what it feels to be hurting when no one is there to help him. She also knows that Jason definitely hated her now. Atlas said he wonder how Jason handled all of it, but Sasha just asked him was his whole act really better than just telling Jason the truth. Atlas responded that the DDA means way more to Jason than it does to him, because for Jason it's practically a way of life, and he doesn't even want to imagine what Jason would do if he found out the demons he's been killing are actually innocent people. Atlas also said he couldn't do that to Jason, but now he has put the burden on her instead, but Sasha responded that she told him already not to worry about it because she has his own reason for joining the DDA, but she never pretended that she was some kind of hero. Then she said she's the one who should be worried about him because no one has killed more demons than him. Atlas said he had a feeling there's something wrong with the DDA, but he just ignored it. Sasha put his hand on Atlas's hand while telling him not to blame himself for it because he fought those demons to protect the world, but Atlas pulled back his hand while saying he's the one to blame because the truth is he didn't care and he would have done anything to get revenge for Rachel. Then Sasha walks away while telling him that she'll be right back, to which Atlas asks where is she going, but Sasha just tells him to wait because she has an idea. A few minutes later Sasha come back with Atlas and her uniform from the DDA. Then she gives it to Atlas. Atlas asks what he's supposed to do with it. Sasha responded that if they were really going to take down the DDA, then they should start today, and she told Atlas to throw the uniform in the fire. Then she pushed Atlas to walk closer to the fire while Atlas tells her it's silly, but still they throw their uniform forms in the fire. A few moments later they walking in the forest. Then Atlas asked Boone where is he taking them, but Boone asks him back if did he never learn patience, to which Atlas asks in return if he already forgets how he woke him up that morning. But Boone just responded that he did it because he overslept, but he will explain why he's taking him into the forest. Then Boone said he can tell Sasha is a fierce fighter and she have the potential to become something far more powerful than. He said Atlas had always a unique talent for adapting and mastering new skills, but neither of them are ready to take on a commander because the commander of the DDA are hand-picked by the president and each of them is a bigger monster than any demon, so if they want to take them down they need to train. Sasha said if Atlas would tell her how he activated that black hole thing they wouldn't need to train at all, to which Boone asked Atlas what Sasha is talking about. Atlas responded that he meant to tell him, but he was not even sure how to explain it, and said when he was about to be captured by Neil he felt a new type of power surge through him, but it wasn't just that because it had been building the whole night, as if his Imperium was growing stronger and feeding off his energy. Then he said he wished he could access that power again, but he can't feel it at all anymore. Then Boone slaps his back hard while saying he's just full of surprises, but Atlas asks him if he's some kind of sadist because of his slap. Boone said he'd basically given up on studying the will of Imperiums, and now Atlas stumbles in there and gives him the biggest lead he has had in years. That made Sasha ask what he's talking about, and Atlas asked him why everything makes him laugh. Boone tells them to think about it, and said if corruption is something the DDA made up to control defenders, then why force them to detach from their emotions? Sasha answered that to create perfectly disciplined soldiers, to which Boone agreed, but said there are easier ways to do that. Then he said he thinks the DD are afraid, which made Atlas confused, but Boone said he couldn't tell them exactly. Still, he's positive that it has to do with what happened to Atlas. Then Boone excitedly told Atlas that he have to tell him more and ask what did it feel like, if he's thinking of anything specific, and how did he learn that new ability, to which Atlas shouted at him to slow down. Then Atlas responded that he was not sure because there was so much fighting that he didn't have time to think about anything else. Boone said all they can do now is try and recreate the same feeling through combat, and there are no people for miles in either direction, so he and Sasha can fight to their heart's content. But Atlas said there is no time for it, and they need to get back to the city before more innocent people are put in danger, because no one knows what the DDA is up to. Sasha said she think they should do it. Atlas was confused for a moment, but Sasha said Boone is right because they both need to get stronger, and they are only going to have one chance at it. If they fail, then nobody is ever coming to help those people. Then Sasha teasingly asks him if he's scared of fighting her. Then Atlas said he was not going to hold back, but Sasha teasingly said it wouldn't matter if he did. Then Atlas throws his swords towards Sasha, but Sasha easily avoided it while asking him if he expects her to block it with his staff, and do he really think so little of her. Then Atlas jumped towards Sasha while saying it was just a warm-up, to which Sasha smiled and said that's what she likes to hear. Then she swings her weapon to attack Atlas, who attacking back. Meanwhile, somewhere the demon got sliced by ice in half by Jason's ice sword. Then the other demon runs toward him while he thinks that killing demons is justice. One of the demons asks him if he's really so afraid that he can't see the truth. Then he squeezed the demon using his ice while angrily saying he knows the truth, but the other demon laughed, which made him confused. Then the demon asks him if that is his way of handling things because he can't hide his fears from himself. Jason stabs the demon using his sharp ice while angrily saying he's not hiding from anything, but the demon just tells him that his father was a better man than him. Jason gets more angrier and gather his ice while telling the demon to shut up. Then he slowly made a spear using his ice, while Hyacinth behind him asked him what was wrong and tells him to calm down. But when he fully succeeded in making a big spear, he throws it and it hit something that made a big explosion. Then he kneeled down in front of the building he destroyed, while Hyacinth beside him asked him what have he done. The people who got hit by Jason attacks called for help, to which Jason snapped back at reality, then looked back to apologize and explained that he didn't know what was wrong with him. But Hyacinth didn't reply. The defender named Kiyoshi arrives and tells Jason that what's wrong with him is that he's weak because he couldn't stop Atlas, and now he's afraid of a bunch of normal demons. Then he asks what kind of defender can't even keep his emotion in check, but Jason just stands up silently and angrily tells Kiyoshi that he doesn't want to get on his nerves. Kiyoshi readied his weapon and responded that he was not worried about it. Jason attacked him using sharp ice while saying he was hoping Kiyoshi will answer like that. Yoshi's weapon drips blood and looks at Jason ice while telling him that he really has lost his mind. Then he jumps back to avoid the attack. He tells Jason that ice truly does suit him because it's rigid and inflexible. Then he gets the blood of the dead demons on the ground while saying blood is fluid, constantly changing and shifting, and he'll never know where it will strike. Then he swings his weapon toward Jason, and he just blocks it using ice, but many drops of blood were coming toward him, to which made him shocked. Jason avoided, but got sliced a little in the face. Suddenly Kiyoshi appeared on top of him, ready to attack, while saying the problem with emotion as they make him blind to what's really going on. Kiyoshi tells Jason that he thought he would have learned that lesson after what happened with his father, which made Jason angry. Kiyoshi swing his weapon to attack Jason. Fortunately, Jason avoided it and asked Jason if there was really nothing he wouldn't say to get under his skin. Then Jason used his ice to create a barrier, while Kiyoshi telling him that his existence is an embarrassment to the DDA, and Kiyoshi asks him why he's hiding in his shell and if he can't even face him like a real warrior. Suddenly a big sharp ice come out of the shell and attacked Kiyoshi, which made a fog and blinded Hyacinth for a moment. Jason comes out holding a big sharp ice weapon while telling Kiyoshi that he wouldn't understand what it feels like to be betrayed by the people he trusts the most, and he only fights for himself, so the DDA doesn't need someone like him. Then they jump to face and attack each other, but before they can hit each other, Jason Feats got zipped by something and lift him up, the same as Kiyoshi. Hyacinth tells them that they are both disgracing the DDA. Then he shouted to Kiyoshi that he have no right to start a fight with another defender, but Kiyoshi responded that if Jason ego is gone fragile, he shouldn't be a defender at all. Hyacinth tells him to zip it and orders him to head back to headquarters immediately, because he will discuss his action with Commander Neil. Then he releases Jason and tells him that the DDA isn't going to let the unnecessary destruction of the city collateral damage to pedestrians fighting against a defender, and he won't be able to protect him. Jason responded that he promised he'll make up for his mistakes because Sasha and Atlas just distract him and he just needs to clear his head. But Hyacinth said he really do empathize with him, but his hands are tied. Then he stretches his hand to Jason and ordered Jason to hand over the Imperium because his authority is hereby revoked. Jason panicky responded that he can't do that, but Hyacinth responded that his being merciful and he was doing it for his own good. Jason hand over his Imperium, while Hyacinth tells him that he's no longer a defender. A few hours later, Jason's uniform and Imperium were in the cabinet. Hyacinth look at them while thinking he's really useless because he promised Jason he would do his best to protect him, but he wonder if that was really going to be enough. Suddenly the president barges in shouting at Hyacinth and angrily asks what is he daydreaming is about. Hyacinth closed the cabinet while asking the president if there was something he wanted to discuss with him. The president told him that he said he would look out for Jason, but now he's become a liability. Hyacinth tells the president that he tell him it was a mistake to send Jason after Atlas, but the president angrily tells him not to lecture him, and is lucky is one of his favorites, but he shouldn't imagine that makes him untouchable because everyone can be replaced. Then he walked away while telling Hyacinth that he better resolve it or he'll have to do it himself. Then his pet named Cam appeared on his hand. Then he asked it if it had any information for him. Cam responded to which Hyacinth pity while telling it that it did a good job. Meanwhile, Jason is lying in the room thinking about following orders, upholding the law, and fighting for justice, but he wonders how did he end up there. Then he remembers Atlas' words that he rather believe in the DDA than his own best friend, and if that is all his love is worth. Jason drinks alcohol while wondering what Atlas knows about love, and the DDA betrayed him, but Atlas is the one who betrayed him. Jason looks at the picture frame. Atlas knows about love, and the DDA betrayed him, but Atlas is the one who betrayed him. Jason looks at the picture frame while saying Atlas said best friend stays forever, but he's a liar. Flashback. Little Jason tells Atlas and Rachel that the whole ceremony is silly because they're going to middle school, and he doesn't know why everyone makes such a big deal out of it. Rachel tells him that he's always a downer, but he responded that he just sang because they'll probably never see any of those people again. Atlas tells him that he thinks they're going to stay together forever, but he responded just because they live near each other doesn't mean that. But before he can finish his words, Atlas said that's not why, but it's because their best friends Jason put the picture frame on the table while thinking that it's so much for forever. Then he shakes his head while convincing himself that people change and he just needs to accept it. Hyacinth knocks on his door and Jason opens it holding a beer and asks Hyacinth what he's doing there. Then he tried to explain, but Hyacinth tells him not to worry about it because he didn't come there on DDA business and he is just upset he started without him. While showing some alcohol Jason led inside Hyacinth, but he said it was a little depressing in his room and asked why don't they take the party somewhere else. A few moments later, somewhere in the alley, Jason asks Hyacinth if he's sure it was the place, to which Hyacinth asks him if he's ever been wrong before. The eye slips into the hole asking what exists between the truth and the lie. Hyacinth answered perspective in the roll-up garage door slowly opened. Inside it was a bar with a few people, and on the counter the lady tells them that their tap is on. They had a full mug of beer and drink it at the same time. Then Hyacinth apologizes to Jason about how everything went down, but Jason said it's all his fault because he wasn't strong enough to stop Atlas and let his emotion get the better of him. Hyacinth happily tells him not to be so hard on himself because they're all just human at the end of the day and ask him to relax, but Jason asks him back how can he relax when his best friend has been corrupted by one of the most powerful demons in history and he lost his right to be a defender, which was the only thing he ever thought he wanted. Hyacinth asks him if it's not still what he wants and Jason responded he doesn't know anymore because he always thought he was different, destined to be a hero just like his father, but even his dad wasn't a real hero, and maybe he has been lying to himself. Then he asks Hyacinth if he ever felt like he's just reacting to things and each decision he makes takes him further away from where he wants to be. Then Hyacinth remembers the president's words and said screw it, because he thinks it's time they took control back for themselves. Then he said there's a poor area in the city that has seen triple the amount of demon attacks in the last year, and he asked the president to let him investigate it, but he forbid him from going anywhere near the place. Then he pointed at Jason while saying he's under the radar now and everyone thinks he's suspended. Jason was shocked and asked Hyacinth if you want him to defy direct orders from the DDA. But Hyacinth just asks him back if that isn't what a true hero would do, fight for justice no matter what it costs. Jason shakes his head while saying it's impossible and he doesn't even have his Imperium, but Hyacinth showed his Imperium while saying good thing he's a commander. Meanwhile in the forest Atlas and Sasha were in the lake exhausted. Then they fight again. Atlas jumps towards Sasha while telling her that she's a little slow and asks if she want to give up, but Sasha jumps toward Atlas to attack and responded that she could do it for days and his strikes have gotten pretty predictable. Then she asks him if his shore is not tired. When Atlas tried to respond he slipped and landed on the lake face first, then he floats while saying maybe he's a little bit tired. Sasha said even the mighty Atlas needs a break sometimes, but she's going to count it one as her win, to which Atlas tells her to shut up and it doesn't count. Boone shout to ask them what they are doing because there is no time to be sitting on their butts, but Atlas tells him to give them a break because they have been practicing for 3 days. Boone said they still have no idea what the DDA is planning or how people are turning into demons, and the DDA is certainly searching for them as they speak. Then he asks what would they do if an entire battalion attacked them. Atlas responded that he know what was at stake, that's why he's sick of hiding in the forest. Then shouted that Sasha and he have been fighting non-stop since they arrived there, and he haven't felt he activated the Shroud of Darkness, to which Sasha agreed and said they need to try a different approach. Boone grabbed his axe while saying he thought that might happen. Then he gave it to Atlas while saying his axe is made from a demon that had control over gravity and a truly terrifying beast. Atlas dropped on the ground because the axe is so heavy. Boone also said his axe core allows him to increase the weight of the weapon exponentially. At first, that was the only way he could harness the demon's power, but after wielding it in many life or death battles, he learned how to alter the gravity affecting his own body, but that was as far as he could take it then. He tells Atlas to imagine what happened to him with some sort of heightened version of the bonding, creating a deep connection with his Imperium and granting him a massive influx of control over its demonic power. Then he grabs his axe while saying if they really want to recreate that feeling, he thinks there is only one thing they can do. Then he smack Atlas using the back of his axe, which made Atlas thrown away. Sasha was shocked and asked Boone what the hell are he doing and if he loses mind, but Boone responded that it's what it takes if they want to force Atlas to the next level. Then he jumps while saying he has to beat it out of him. On the other hand, Atlas, who's thrown away, wonders did he just get hit by a truck? Suddenly Boone appeared in the sky while shouting here he come, which made Atlas confused and shocked. Boone landed on the ground while saying he used the blunt side of his axe for that first attack, but he won't do him that courtesy again. Atlas asks him, what are ye talking about? Boone swing his axe back while asking Atlas, how do we plan on fighting against commanders if he can't even defend against an old man like him? Then he attack Atlas. Fortunately, Atlas block it using his sword while responding that it's ridiculous because he doesn't want to fight him. The force of the attack made Atlas sink to the ground while Boone asked him what is he going to do if he has to turn his blades against Jason, and what choice would he make? Atlas phases the axe and jumps onto it while responding he doesn't want to choose because he's going to save Jason and stop the DBA while he tries to attack. Boone grabbed Atlas's hand and was about to slam him while shouting that isn't good enough. Then Atlas was slammed on the ground hard, throwing the little girl's blanket in the air. Boone looks at it while asking Atlas if his resolve was really that fragile. Then he sliced the little girl's blanket, which made Atlas see the little barrel. Then his Imperium power activate and his aura circled around him. Boone tells Atlas that he has done it, but the shadow demon's core power absorbed Atlas and slowly shrinks, which made Boone panic. On the other hand, Atlas wonders if he's inside the shroud of darkness and why can't he sense Boone. Then he looks down wondering where he is. He looks down carefully and thinks wherever the place is, it isn't anywhere on Earth. Then he checks his sword in his back and looks around wondering how the hell he's supposed to get out of there. Suddenly something behind him slowly formed and a few seconds later a demon was formed. Atlas faces it while guessing that he'll have to fight his way out. Then the demon attacks him using its tentacles. Meanwhile, in Earth, Sasha was shocked and asked Boone what do he mean by Atlas disappeared. Boone responded that the black hole thing was growing out of Atlas, but when it shrunk into nothing and Atlas was gone. He also said he was right that Atlas needed to be pushed harder, but maybe he took it a little too far when he sliced through the blanket. Sasha angrily asks him if he really destroyed the blanket. Then she walks away, to which Boone asks her where she's going and if she isn't going to help get Atlas back. Sasha responded that Atlas will be fine and she can't just wait around forever. Then she looks back and shouts that she was going to find Neil because someone needs to figure out where the lab is. Boone said she doesn't even know where Neil is, but Sasha just said she'll have to figure it out while thinking that she won't be left behind. Meanwhile, Atlas sliced the tentacles, but they just regenerate and attack him again. Fortunately, he avoided it. Then he looks at the demon knowing that he has to get in close. The demon attacks him again, but he jumps up, landed on its tentacles and looks at it. Then he runs toward it while slicing all the tentacles that attack him. He jumps toward the demon's head and cut it off, but the monster just regenerates another head, which made him angrily think the demon doesn't know when to die. Then he throw his sword at the demon hand while thinking that he'll make sure it stays down. Then he gathers his power while confidently thinking that he won't give it a chance to regenerate. Then he jumped toward it knowing that if the head didn't work he'd just have to aim for the heart. The demon attacks him using its sharp tongue and hit his shoulder. While he hit its chest, Atlas angrily thinks a hole in his shoulder isn't enough to kill him. Then he grabs something inside of it, wondering if it's a demon core because he has never seen one in real life before. The demon slowly rapped on his hand, which made him shocked and asked why are it still alive. Then it slowly creeps on his face a few moments later. He wonder what happened to him, and if did he die. Then he saw himself fighting against the demon. The frog demon attacked him and he avoided it, but its attack hit the building. The kid was holding on to the building, calling for help, and the kid's mother, who's on the ground crying, begging to help his son. Atlas tells his past self to move and save the kid, but he just stands still looking at the kid and turned back to look at the running frog demon. Then he walks out, letting the kid fall out of the building. Atlas thinks is the coward. He's the one who is a fake hero because all he ever cared about was revenge, and it is what he deserves. But then he convinced himself not to give up, because people and the whole world are counting on him. Then he grabs tightly the demon core, convincing himself that it's not about what he deserves, and he won't let himself die. Meanwhile, in the city, Sasha was looking at Atlas's poster, wondering why the DDA hasn't announced that she was corrupted as well when she was just as much of a threat as Atlas. Then she angrily thinks not that she cares. Then she continues to walk, realizing that he just distracting herself, and she needs to find Neil. Then thinks if she was a demon-loving bastard, where would she be then? She sadly thinks maybe Boone was right, and maybe there's no way she can do it on her own. Then she walks away. Then someone tried to grab her. Then someone touched her shoulder, which made her look back in shock and saw her mother. Her mother said her little Sasha have grown into such a beautiful woman, to which Sasha responded thank you in stuttering words. Her mother told her that time passes so quickly when she gets to his age. Sasha apologizes because she hasn't been around lately. Her mother said she understand because her daughter has become a famous hero, so how could she possibly complain? Then she asks Sasha what are she doing in that outfit of hers, and if shouldn't she be off hunting demons. Sasha responded that she got the day off, so she decided to wear something more comfortable. Her mother got excited and asked her if she likes to come back to their house for a bit because she would love to spend some time with her. A few hours later they arrived at their house. Sasha asks her mother if Tim was there. Her mother responded Tim's not home and asked if does it look the same as when she was a kid. Sasha responded just as she remember it inside the house. Sasha asks her mother how have she been and if she's able to find a job. Then she said she would be happy to send some money if she needed because the DDA gave her more than she know what to do with, and she doesn't have the time to spend it even if she did. Her mother responded the money has been in a little tight lately, but she doesn't have to worry about her. Sasha said if her dad was still around, he would never let her live like this. Her mother sadly responded that she loved her father, and she still does, but Tim was there for her when she needed him, so she doesn't understand how hard it is to be on her own. Sasha gets angry and asks her mother how could she say that because she had been alone her whole life, and Tim only made it worse because he doesn't care about them since the day her mother brought Tim into their house. All he ever cared about was himself. He abused her mother, and yet her mother always defended him even though she heard them fighting every night. Her mother never stood up to Tim, and she let him do whatever he wanted. Then Sasha tells her mother that no matter what Tim did to her, she always stayed with him, and she didn't care about how it affected her. Sasha also said Tim's the whole reason she joined the DDA, so that she could escape the prison and finally stand on her own feet. Then she stands up while saying she should leave before Tim shows up, and tells her mother to let her know if there's anything she needs. When she was going to leave, her mother said Tim died. She looked back and asked how Tim died. Her mother responded that Tim got caught up in some demon attack, but the authority not even sure what really happened to Tim because his body was never found, and all they gave her was some old shirt Tim used to wear. Sasha just stands blankly wondering what's wrong with her because she should be happy Tim's gone, and all she ever wanted was for Tim to go away. She clenched her hand knowing that she was not sad Tim died, because even just picturing him makes her sick, but currently she just feels empty. Then she walked toward her mother while asking when did that happen and comfort her, while her mother responded that it happened a few years ago right after she left to join the DDA. Sasha asked her mother if she had been on her own the whole time and why didn't she tell her, but her mother just responded that she was a defender and the city needed her. On the other hand, outside their house, someone with the demon said she's definitely in there. Then it orders the demon to blow the house up. Then Hina shouted for Sasha to come out. Sasha heard it and saw them light outside their house and run toward her mother. Then their house explode, which made Hina jump with happiness. Well, guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, comment part 2 in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and like the video. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.